What's going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Welcome to another edition of Mean Streets presented by So Rare, live here on a Game Plus Network, as well as our FTN Network YouTube page. Appreciate you guys taking the time to hang out here. Chris Meaney with you. Last week, we did a live draft here on Sleeper, and I thought it did pretty well. I thought we had some people hanging out. We got some great questions, some good feedback, and even post questions from people reaching out. Why did you do this and instead of that? Amari over Calvin Ridley. We had some great comments and some great questions, and some people who have asked about SuperFlex. And we have all kinds of platforms on social media. We have a couple different handles: FTN Daily, FTN Bets, FTN Fantasy, FTN Network. We also are running a lot of videos over at TikTok as well. But if you are a regular here on this show, or you watch a lot of our content on our FTN Network YouTube page and Game Plus Network, all in football over at Game Plus Network as well, you know that we have a lot of content. And we've been condensing some of that content in some shorts and some TikToks. And I did a couple videos, and this is how your first round should go. This is how your second round should go. Zero RB, hero RB. Done a lot of things like that. And most of the feedback has been solid, but a lot of people are looking for some SuperFlex stuff. And we had a question on yesterday's show on Mean Streets about SuperFlex and, how early to draft a quarterback and the strategy. And, years ago, I'd say probably about 8 or 9, 10 years ago, I remember doing a few videos over at FNTSY and talking SuperFlex. And I always felt like I should have addressed the quarterback position pretty early, like get maybe 2 of my first 4 picks or 3 picks, take some quarterbacks. I've kind of changed my tune over the past couple of years and doing some of these drafts. And I think most people will hammer quarterbacks. And I did a mock draft at The Athletic last week, and I want to show you guys that draft, and I want The Athletic to publish it first before I show you the draft. So it may be in a couple days. Hopefully Thursday I can show you how that draft went. A lot of people were taking quarterbacks. I went the other way, and I took the value positions that I thought anyways, like running backs and wide receivers. And I think I'm going to stick with the same strategy here today. So before you come at me, but my quarterback's stinking or the strategy, I want you guys to know that this is my game plan in this draft. I don't think you need to be married to any strategy. All the things that I've been telling you guys and preaching, I think it all applies in every single different, whether it's a single quarterback league, a redraft, dynasty is a little bit different, keeper a little bit different. Best ball is also a touch different. But in terms of redraft, do mocks, try different strategies. Don't be married to a particular strategy. Sometimes the draft board players will just fall to you. Like Miles Sanders and Josh Jacobs coming to mind last year. I think these guys may not have been on your radar to draft, but both of them in particular, Miles Sanders going outside the 8th round. Sometimes players will just fall to you. So we're going to try something here where we avoid the quarterback position for a little bit. We're not going to completely punt it. I'm going to try to get myself a top 12 quarterback, but I don't think I'm going to attack the position till round 3, 4, maybe even 5. We'll see what our team looks like compared to other teams. We're going to be behind when it comes to quarterbacks because people, and I think even in this mock, we will see a ton of quarterbacks go early. We'll see a couple like maybe even team 10 or team 11 will go double quarterbacks in there, and they'll have elite quarterbacks. I mean, they'll be ahead of me in terms of quarterbacks, but I feel like my running backs, my wide receivers will be pretty strong. So we'll see how this plays out, but I highly recommend doing a couple different mock drafts, a couple different strategies, and see what you like best, see how the board will fall to you and what players will be available to you maybe in the middle or later rounds of your drafts. Like I said, we've done some hero RB. I think I have a link inside the description of this video of the mock draft we did last week where we did 0 RB. I don't think we attacked the running back position. I believe we started wide receiver, maybe even quarterback. I don't think we attacked the running back position until round 5. And I think we went 5, 6, and 7 with Cam Akers, Javonte Williams, and maybe Rashard White. And I got some decent running backs. So we'll see what happens here. We'll get going. This is, of course, sleeper.com. You can try any kind of draft that you want and pick anywhere that you want. We got something random here in the 8 spot, but there are 12 teams here, and away we go. Lutessa in the house. Happy Meaney. Hey, Meaney, happy Tuesday. Happy Meaney. Deesh in the house, 2 quarterback, the best league to play, in my opinion. I like it as well. I'm a big fan of SuperFlex. I think it just brings quarterbacks. I just want to play with everybody. Like, the deeper the league, the better. in my opinion, I want to, and I feel like the more knowledgeable you are potentially, in the NFL, maybe that can create an edge on your league mates. And I just feel like, I don't know, like in a single quarterback league with whether it's a 10 team or a 12 team, there's always like decent quarterbacks that I want to play that are on the wire. It's like, oh, I really like their matchup this week, but am I going to play them over Trevor Lawrence or Jalen Hurts? Like, I'm not going to. I'm never going to have a second quarterback if I have. I'll tell you what, in a single quarterback league, I'm not going to have a second quarterback if I have the top 8: Hurts, Allen, Mahomes, Burrow, Fields, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert. I'm not going to have. Those guys are all matchup proof, in my opinion. I'm going to roll them out. Other guys like maybe Deshaun, I'd probably roll out every week. Dak, I'm not fully believing. Daniel Jones got a rushing floor, so potentially. But there's a lot of quarterbacks, I think, after those 8 that you're streaming the position. I think it in SuperFlex, a lot of people will tell you it overvalues the quarterbacks and they just go too early and they're too valuable. I think to keep it still at a 4 points for a passing touchdown is key, not 6. High stakes is 6, but that's a single quarterback league. That's a touch different. I like to just incorporate everybody, and I like rolling out a couple quarterbacks. So I Superflex is fun. It's it's probably my second favorite format behind like auction, and auction can be a Superflex as well. But auction, I just feel like, you get whoever you want in an auction, and I love it. I have the 201, 207. I traded 112. Who would you take in those spots? This is a dynasty league, I would assume, or maybe a rookie only. Like, can you trade draft picks in a redraft? I don't think so. You have the 201, 207. You traded 112. I need a little bit more context there from you, Jonathan, if you're still hanging out here. He says he has the second and third pick. So is this a straight up redraft? Is this just a rookie? I would assume this is just a rookie only draft. You traded pick 12. You got 201 and 2. You got the 7th pick in the second round. We get some context there, and we can get back into that question. Love Superflex. Yes, I'm a big fan as well. We got Deesh. It's all fun until you have Hurts, Lamar out for the ship. And this happened to you last year. I remember, injuries are going to happen. I mean, that's a nice 1-2 punch. I think in Jake Seeley's flex league, super flex league last year, I had Kyler and Trevor Lawrence. I attacked quarterback. I got Kyler pretty early, maybe second round. I think I went Austin Eckler, Kyler, and then by the time I went 5th or 6th, then, I got into Trevor Lawrence as like that breakout quarterback who was going around 15 or 16. But I mean, that's a decent, seems like a really good 1-2 punch. You'd seem like you'd be on your way with Hurts and Lamar, but having to play Pickett and Ritter down the stretch of the season did cost you. You got a little bit unlucky there, didn't you? But those are 2 quarterbacks that you can lean. I don't dislike the strategy of taking 2 guys. If you have 2 quarterbacks like that, I mean, it's going to be impossible to get those 2 guys, I think, in a super flex this year. But if you had you could potentially, we'll see how this draft falls. We'll just play it out. That's a redraft. In Sleeper, you can trade picks. Yes, you can. So that is a redraft league. You guys are trading picks in a redraft league. That is interesting. And your league mates are cool with that. 112 for 201 and 27. I think that's pretty solid for you. I don't know off the top of my head what should you do. I think you can get yourself just get yourself an alpha wide receiver and an alpha running back at 201. You could potentially get Nick Chubb there, and then maybe you can get a Jalen Waddle or a Devontae Smith, Chris Olave, something like that. No, I've never heard that. That it is kind of cool. I like it. Maybe I'll see if my league mates will incorporate something like that. We're 10 minutes in. We got to get going here. Let's start this draft, and dark mode season always. Yes, I'm sure. And away we go. I'm interested to see how this mock is going to play out. So it's quarterback heavy here. Lamar, 3rd quarterback off the board. Look at this. So, okay. Josh Allen at first pick here. Justin Jefferson, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Herbert, Mahomes, and Burrow. Team 6 is loving life, I think, getting Mahomes there at pick 6. I believe this is very similar to how the mock draft at the Athletic kind of shaped out. I think there were maybe 1 or 2 picks in here early. As I told you, I avoided quarterbacks, and I'm going to do the same here. I'm going to avoid quarterbacks for just a touch and see what our team looks like. Man, I am alpha wide receiver here, but I don't think you want to punt a couple positions. If you're going to quote unquote punt quarterback, I don't think you want to be punting running back either. But I am going to go with my rankings, which I've recently moved Cooper Cup a touch up ahead of Chase and Hill, but I think they're all in the same tier. I'm just a little worried about Joe Burrow here overall, and I am alpha wide receiver, so I'm going to go with Cooper Cup. Jamar Chase there, CMC, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields. So these are okay, neither team wanted to go back to back quarterbacks. It would have been a pretty interesting strategy there, with Trevor Lawrence and Fields to kind of double down on maybe Watson and Dak and Tua in there. But I do believe there is a drop off after all of these quarterbacks that went in the first round. We're just going to continue here. And, we got Nick Chubb there, which I really do like Chubb. And yeah, we won't punt running back. It was tough. It's tough for me not to double down on wide receivers, but this is a little different. I don't feel like this will be the case in most drafts. I think as we see here, not one team with two quarterbacks in the first two rounds, and that's the difference here of a mock with the ADPs over at Sleeper or actually having bodies in here drafting. I think we would see a couple quarterbacks. Like I think definitely one of these teams that Hurts and Lamar and Herbert, Mahomes, Burrow would have doubled down, would have had a second quarterback maybe here in the third round potentially. I'll try to keep an eye on some of these questions, guys, and we'll see. But we'll also keep going here in the draft. So my first quarterback, Deshaun Watson, that's actually not bad. I know I got Nick Chubb there, so probably not something I would do. I'm still going to wait it out here a little bit to see what my team could look like if I live in this range, but I think personally, I think I would. I had somebody critique, like, why do you say me and personally? I'll give you a word to use. It's I. So I like all the grammar tips on this show too. You'll leave all the hates. Meanstreetsftn@gmail.com. I take all the criticism. I know that I can get better as a host and an analyst. I'm not going to take Deshaun there with Chubb. I don't think it's the end of the world to have a quarterback with your running back, especially if they're a pass catching running back. I am assuming Nick Chubb is going to have 30 plus grabs this season. As I've said a few times on this show, if you're just stumbling across it, just over 2 catches per game over the last 7 as a rookie, on pace for 50 at the halfway point before they brought in Kareem Hunt, and Kareem Hunt is gone. Jonathan's in the house here, and since we're on Watson, I do like Watson, especially I think he's a good target. I think he's kind of at that cutoff range in a SuperFlex league where if you don't get those top 8, as I mentioned, I do like him more than Dak. I think that we're going to see, I don't know if we're ever going to see peak Deshaun from the Houston days, but he's definitely not as bad as what we saw last year. I think this is a guy that he shakes off the rust, is now learning the playbook with the team at this time of the year in training camp, and I think that's all good news. He did not look good in those few games that he played towards the end of the season, but he hadn't played football in like almost 3 years. So I am willing to give him a little bit of a pass here. Again, I think he's a good option in the third round if that's available to you. If you haven't gone quarterback, for him to be your QB1, he's kind of like that cutoff, right? He's a low end one, but he has upside. I'm gonna bypass here and maybe attack it in the next round. Another quarterback. Again, I don't love to have my quarterback with my running back. If it's an Eckler and a Herbert, cool. I'm all right with that. Saquon and Jones, I don't really love it. A Pollard and a Dak, I'm just not a huge fan. I feel like they cut into each other most times. Running backs get those goal line carries, and your running back is getting touchdowns, but your quarterback's not tossing them in. If you're going to go down that road with a top 12 running back, make sure it's a pass catching running back. There's also tons of running backs that it would take, like Jerick McKinnon, or I would have Jerick McKinnon with Mahomes. That stuff is not going to bother me, but a top 12 running back with a top 10 quarterback, I don't know if that's for me, but we'll get back into the draft. And like I said, like I'm going to do a hero RB type thing. Jalen Waddle, T. Higgins, Devontae Smith, like these guys are all available for you as your wide receiver too. I love that. According to my rankings, I do have Waddle just a touch ahead. So I will actually roll with Waddle over Devontae. I'm not a complete homer here, guys. So let's see some more. There goes Watson. And I think honestly, like that's a really good pick for team 9 and 10 here. Team 10's got 3 running backs is a bit much. I probably would have went a wide receiver with one of these picks, but CMC and Eckler, like, are you kidding me? CMC and Eckler, like that's an unbelievable 1-2 punch, and may not have the edge of the quarterback position, although has Tua here to be a potential top 8, top 5 guy. Got the edge on everybody else at the running back position. I mean, Barkley Jacobs is all right with Burrow here. I probably would have went another wide receiver. Chase, Robinson, Watson, Stevenson, that's pretty good. And let's see, like at the quarterback position, still some options here. I probably will get involved here now with a quarterback in round 4. So I'm not completely punting the position. I definitely want a guy that I think could finish as a top 10 quarterback. I think Daniel Jones could be that guy. I don't know if he's going to rush for 700 yards, but they've done some great things. Dable turned him around. I mean, it's night and day. The guy wasn't turning the football over. He didn't toss for a lot of touchdowns, but he was accurate. He didn't turn it over. He didn't fumble. The offense had some creativity to it, right? With Dable in there, they were running guys in motion, and now they continue to add Darren Waller. Even if you don't love their wide receivers, and I don't love a lot of them, but it's a better wide receiver room. Drafting Jalen Hyatt, having Paris Campbell, Isaiah Hodgins showed us some things down the stretch of the season. Wan'Dale Robinson was a small sample size, but he showed us a few things last year as well. I will go here with Daniel Jones. If I had a Justin Jefferson, I would pair him up with Kirk Cousins. But I'm going to go here with DJ. If I waited it out one more spot, like if I waited again, I think it's too risky. I don't want Jared Goff or Russell Wilson or Derek Carr to be my QB1. I do believe there's a touch. Gino I'd be okay with. I think there's a drop off, a touch of a drop off after some of these guys. So I'll go DJ. Get ourselves one quarterback. I'm really surprised. I feel like most drafts would be more quarterbacks going here early. It's almost like people are taking the strategy that I like and waiting it out just a little bit here. And I know Jeff Ratcliffe is a big believer in this as well. Like no quarterbacks went there. That's very interesting to me to see. I wish I had the athletic mock. If you're hanging out with us, guys, we will show the athletic mock here in the next day or two and show you how I feel like they'd be more quarterbacks going here. I think people are liking to wait it out here a little bit. I'm going to wait out a touch more. Another wide receiver, Jerry Jeudy, DJ Moore, Christian Watson. I like all of these guys. I think they're all really good targets. I am going to lean here with Christian Watson. Actually, I think they're all in the same tier. I don't know if we have the tiers. I don't think I need to show you guys, but since there's some people hanging out here, I think we got rid of some of the tiers. This was the first tier that we had for wide receivers, and we're past that tier now. And I do believe we got rid of some of the other ones, so that's okay. Drake London, I'll just touch on some of these guys for a second. Drake London, I really like as a player. I mean, big body wide receiver, can go up and get it. It is a run-first offense. It's not a great quarterback in Desmond Ridder. The games that he had, I think we started to see him excel when they made the quarterback switch. I think Ridder is certainly better for these pass catching players in Atlanta's offense, Kyle Pitts included, when they moved from Mariota to Desmond Ridder. But also a lot of those targets came when Kyle Pitts wasn't there. This is going to be a run first team. They're going to run the rock 20 plus times a game. I don't think I'm in on Drake London. I got him ranked in like the late 20s. I like Jeudy had a good season, in what was a complete mess in Denver. I like DJ Moore too. And DJ Moore, I'm a big fan of DJ Moore, but I'm going to go with Christian Watson here. Thoughts on Pollard this season? Let's see. What do we got? Thoughts on Pollard fantasy-wise this season? I mean, as of right now, this is a guy that I feel like I'm moving up my draft board just a touch lately, because there's so much uncertainty with some of these guys, Josh Jacobs and Jonathan Taylor, Ramondre Stevenson and Breece Hall. I really do feel like the Pats are going to bring in somebody, whether it's Zeke or Leonard Fournette. We also have the Jets rumored to be bringing in Dalvin Cook. I have some concerns on Pollard being a true bell cow back. He's got one game with 20 plus carries on the NFL resume. It's not to say that he can't do it, but I really believe Zeke was good for his game. I thought it was a good 1-2 punch. Zeke had some first and second down looks, a goal line back, pass protect. Pollard certainly more explosive, a lot of just like 40 plus touchdowns from him last year. He's great in the receiving yard game. He struggled as a goal line back. I believe he was 3 for 9 in goal line situations last year. No, there was one game they went to him 3 times in a row against the Texans, pulled him off the field, brought in Zeke, and Zeke punched it in. And that's what Zeke does so well. Dallas doesn't seem to be concerned at all. They didn't bring anybody in. I saw Ronald Jones is suspended for a couple games. We've all seen the video of Deuce Vaughn on the field, 5'5". I mean, he led all college backs last year total yards. He's actually, he reminds me of Darren Sproles. He's going to be a tough guy to bring down, but he's not going to be a between the tackles type of runner. He's going to maybe get in there and surprise some people in some third down situations and maybe special teams, but Malik Davis. Like, as of right now, they're not worried at all about competition and coming off a significant injury, a broken fibula. So, I mean, Pollard, it's not too many backs go that you can count on like 20 opportunities, and Pollard is one of those guys. So, Jonathan, I feel like they're gonna bring somebody in, but I'm not 100% sure who that is and if it's indeed going to happen. Lou, curious of your thoughts on this dynasty superflex trade. Just traded, what do we got? Mondre, Pollard, Ritter, 24 first and second for Lamar. All of that for Lamar. I mean, I don't hate that, dude. I don't hate that at all. What is this? Ramondre Stevenson and Tony Pollard. You traded 2 top 12 backs. Desmond Ritter's nothing to you. Definitely an upgrade, I'd say, at the quarterback position. Bring in Lamar Jackson and a first and a second. For context, he's starting Herbert, Lamar, Saquon, Dalvin instead of Herbert, Ritter, Mondre, and Pollard. Yeah, I like that move for you, right? You went out and got yourself a top 5 quarterback with a rushing floor. You got a really good 1-2 punch, probably one of the better 1-2 punches in your league with Herbert and Lamar, Saquon and Dalvin there instead of Ramondre. So you got a little bit older at the running back position, losing Ramondre and Pollard there, but quarterbacks are very valuable. Even though we're kind of punting the quarterback position here a touch in this draft, they're super valuable. I think this is rare to see these quarterbacks available here as we're just about to make a selection in round 6. I think we'd see some of these guys gone. According to my rankings, it would be Anthony Richardson here, but let's just play the room, risk it out, and let's see if we can wait it out a touch. What do we got going on here? We got Kupp, Chubb, Waddle, Watson, Daniel Jones. Kind of like the makeup of this. We could do another wide receiver and we go 4 wideouts there, but I think I plan on taking a quarterback in the next round, and maybe I'll dive into wide receivers after that. So we got Cam Akers and Miles Sanders in here. So my rankings do have Miles Sanders ahead of Akers, but it's the same tier. I believe some of the reports. I've said it for a couple weeks. I think Miles Sanders could be a bell cow back inside this offense. I think he can catch a few passes. He got 50 as a rookie. He's been a bad pass catching running back over the past couple of years. Philly hasn't really used him that way recently. And Jalen Hurts is just not one of those quarterbacks that likes to dump off. He's going to run for those extra couple of yards. So I think we'll see an uptick in receiving yards and catches and targets for him this season. Still a lot of decent wide receivers available. Godwin is a good 4th, especially in a PPR format. The ceiling may not be as high with Trask and Baker under center, but I feel like he's going to be an 8 to 9 target per game type of guy. And he was top 10 in targets last year, but we did see a lot of pass attempts from Tom Brady. I'm going to go with Miles. Let's go with Miles Sanders here as my RB2, and let's see what happens here. I think we're going to see some quarterbacks go off the board. We should. We're not seeing it. I don't know why. I think if there were actual human bodies in here, I do believe we would see more quarterbacks. That's really strange. Maybe not the best assignment here today. Okay, so these running backs I really like as well in this range. Rachaad White, Alvin Kamara, Dave Montgomery, James Cook, a couple pass catching backs and Cook and Gibson there. It does look like a normal 2 flex. Yeah. So maybe that's it. Can you play? Did I mess this up? I potentially may have. No, you can play a quarterback in some of these spots. Maybe if it was just quarterback, like 2 actual, because most super flex, and I think you should have this as your second flex option. I think you could give people the choice whether they want to go with a quarterback, a running back, or a wide receiver tight end. I'm in a league where you can only play strictly the quarterback in that second spot. I think definitely we would see these quarterbacks go a touch earlier than this. But as of right now, like, I'm not seeing anybody with a second quarterback. So I may have messed up the seconds just a touch. It's all good. We'll continue on here. We go another running back here. Rachaad White, I think, is interesting. Marquise Brown. No, there's some volume there with Brown. Tyler Lockett, I think, is a pretty good value. Deontay Johnson, I think, is a decent value, but I'm not completely in DJ. I think he'll certainly score some touchdowns, but I think Pickens will surprise some people. There's some good options there. I'm going to dive into running back actually one more time, and I'll take Rachaad White. I know there's some talk there about him maybe losing his job. I don't believe that. No offensive coordinator in town. Canals is I mean, he's run a lot of zone. I think zone is better for Rashad White. There's going to be a change in the game plan offensively for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the way that they run the football. But Rashad White, 50 catches as a rookie last year. I think I agree with the organization saying that he is a bell cow back and they want to get him the ball in his hands in space. So again, this draft, if you're just joining us, I think I may have messed up the settings a touch. Normally, we'd see more quarterbacks go here. It is very interesting to see this run on quarterbacks and then nobody really hammering home a second quarterback, which is super rare. That's just not going to happen. I agree here. Kamara seems like a solid pick here in the 7th. I absolutely agree. I think in the mock I think we did the other day, he was a 7th round pick. So I think the suspension, we're going to hear about it soon, whether it is a guy that does get suspended for a couple games or not, but if it's 2, he'll move up draft boards. Even if it's 4, I believe he's going to move up draft boards a little bit as well. So the end of the 7th is great. I'm just going to take a second quarterback because I just feel like we should. Like, I think we need to be taking a second quarterback here at this point for the exercise alone. So, my rankings actually have Geno ahead of Kirk Cousins and Anthony Richardson, who we need to see Jonathan Taylor under center for the Colts offense to be just even decent. They can't, it's a massive difference between this offense with Jonathan Taylor and without Jonathan Taylor. And we saw Zach Moss break his hand yesterday. They don't have much on the depth chart at the moment. I don't know what's going to happen with Jonathan Taylor, but my goodness, they need to have this guy under center for their rookie quarterback. They just can't throw him into the fire and expect him to run around like a madman. I'm going to go with my rankings, and my rankings have Geno. And these are 2 quarterbacks actually that I thought that I would get in this situation in a super flex league, and 2 quarterbacks that I like. And even Geno stepping down a little bit. And here we go. Here we go. Getting into a run of some more quarterbacks, like finally. This would happen much earlier. I don't want to sound, I know I sound like a broken record, but we'll show you the athletic mock, and this is going to happen much earlier. I offhand, I remember taking, I think maybe Geno as my first quarterback in round 4. And then in round 8 or 9, I was playing the room and seeing how many people had 2 quarterbacks. I ended up getting Derek Carr, and I think Brock Purdy as my 3rd a little bit later on, who was going to be another option for me here. But even if Geno declines a touch, he doesn't lead the NFL in accuracy, and maybe this offense isn't as good this year as last year, but I think the defense has improved, so there's more opportunities. Geno, a good deep ball from him last year. He's got 2 alpha wide receivers, arguably the best wide receiver drafted in JSN. And I know at the moment with Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, these guys are not healthy at the moment, but when those guys are, I think it's going to be a pretty solid 1-2 punch into the backfield as well. I like the Seattle team quite a bit. So we're starting to see a quarterback run here. I'm not alone, Geno. Anthony could still be good without GT. Yeah, he can. He could. But how good is this offense going to be without Jonathan Taylor, right? You're going to see a ton of stacked boxes. And what I've seen from Anthony Richardson is this guy is pretty raw as a passer. Like, he's got some accuracy issues. I'm a believer. I think that he could be coached up, and I think Steichen is the right guy for him. He did some great things with Herbert as a rookie, did some great things with Hurts. It's going to be a very similar offense in Indy as it was in Philly. But, man, no JT with just, like, Evan Hall. Are you going to – team's going to be stacking boxes. If you're a Colts fan, you need JT back like immediately. I actually have the numbers here. I'm going to rip this off from – this was from the broadcast I watched yesterday, NFL Live. So I'm completely stealing it from them. But Colts offense since 2020 with Jonathan Taylor on and off the field. He's 5 yards per rush. Without him, 3.9 yards per pass attempt, 7.5 to 6.4, total QBR 58 to 43. Now fossils in Indy over the past couple of years, right? Where quarterbacks have just gone to die. Let's be honest. Matt Ryan, Nick Foles, Phillip Rivers. right? It hasn't been the best offense, but I think that they definitely need somebody to the backfield like Jonathan Taylor, help them move the ball. Let's get back in here into the draft. So we're starting to see now some second quarterbacks. We decided to wait it out for the first couple rounds. We took our first and the fourth here with Daniel Jones, Christian Watson, Miles Sanders, Rashad White, and Geno Smith. So let's take a look overall at the roster. We do have 3 running backs. We got 3 wide receivers that we like, and we do not have a tight end. I typically waited out. Oh, Schultz is the guy, like maybe in this range, but I'm gonna play the room here a little bit. Kind of cheating. I don't think we'll see too many people take another tight end here in a little bit. So we'll go wide receiver, Gabe Davis. What else do we have here? Can we move this up a touch? Show you guys who is available. Gabe Davis. I think he's good value this year. You know, if he does what he did last year, he's roughly wide receiver 27, 28. He's going in as like a late 30 type guy here. Juju Smith-Schuster, I don't know where the ceiling is with Juju. PPR league, you could catch 70 balls, but he didn't show me a whole lot last year with Patrick Mahomes, and I just think this offense is going to be brutal again. Bringing in Bill O'Brien's going to be better for them because they didn't have a competent offensive coordinator last year. Michael Thomas, Jameson Williams, Elijah Moore, Zay Flowers. I'm going to take the upside here, I think, in Gabe Davis. I don't mind Michael Thomas either as a bit of a flyer. You know, in this round, if it doesn't work out in round 9, you know, it's a little bit easier of a pill to swallow compared to last year and the year before. He has only played 10 of the Saints' last 50 games. Jameson Williams is going to miss 6 weeks of the season. I don't like to get myself involved in redraft leagues when players are going to miss the first 6 weeks. What if there's a setback in best ball? Sure, I'll do it all day. I'll go with Gabe here. I'll go with Gabe and see if we can get a tight end. See if we can get a tight end in the next round. So we are seeing some quarterbacks. I want to show you guys some of these teams. So we're starting to see second quarterbacks. And again, these guys are pushed back. It seems like everybody has a very similar strategy as me, is just waiting it out at the quarterback position and taking the value that the draft gives you. But Fields and Stafford here with Hill, Higgins, and Burks. Got a couple running backs. Don't love the running backs. I think Swift is a bust for me. T-Law and Bryce Young. So 2 quarterbacks, 2 young quarterbacks. Got some good wide receivers here in Devontae, Moore, Pittman, Addison. Took the shot there on Michael Thomas as the 5th wide receiver. I think that's perfect, right? 5th, if he pans out, you're playing this guy, and away you go. Breece Hall, Alvin Kamara, pretty thin at the running back position. A lot of question marks there at RB. How about this team? CMC and Eckler, love that 1-2 punch at the running back position. You know, I'm an alpha wide receiver guy, but I like this start. Tua, I would have dove back. I would have got involved with a wide receiver here personally, maybe a DK or a Cooper, but got 3 solid running backs. Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver 1, Hollywood, wide receiver 2, does not have a wide receiver 3 yet. So we'll have the advantage at the running back position. Quarterbacks and Tua and Carr are okay. Not bad. Tight end, you know, arguably a top 5 guy, but pretty thin at the wide receiver position. What do we got here? Team 9. Chase, a little bit more of a balanced attack here. Bijan and Ramondre with Watson. I like the build here. I don't love the wide receivers. I mean, London as your 2. I think he's going to more of a 3. Lockett is good value here on Lockett. I like Lockett. I think he's a good target in this range. Remember, he's finished ahead of DK in the last 2 years in fantasy points per game. George Pickens and Juju. So pretty thin at the running back position, even though targeted it early. For us here, Kupp and Waddle with Chubb. I like the start. DJ, upside to be a top 10 guy. Watson is my 3rd wide receiver. Sanders and White as RB2 and RB3. Geno as my 2nd quarterback. Gabe Davis as my 4th wide receiver. Here with the teams that started with quarterbacks. Burrow, I like this squad here. You know, 2nd quarterback is Goff. Saquon and Josh Jacobs. Cam Akers is RB3. DK is the wide receiver 1. It's not ideal, but does have an advantage, I think, at the running back position. And yeah, I would say a slight advantage there compared to most. Tony is your wide receiver 3. That's a easy fade for me is Kadarius Toney. Mahomes with Diggs and Cooper, Pollard and Dobbins and Cook and Javonte. Really like what's going on here. A couple risky plays, I suppose. Dobbins with health and Javonte with health. And then Cook doesn't have a squad. And we just talked about Pollard earlier. We like Pollard. Diggs and Cooper is 2 solid wide receivers. Got Rodgers as the 2nd quarterback to deal with Mahomes. So we'll see what wide receivers team 6 dives into. Need to dive in early, get some more wideouts. Herbert with Anthony Richardson. right? That's pretty good 1-2 punch. Definitely going to want to draft a third quarterback just in case. Probably going to want to do that pretty soon. Wilson, Hopkins, Mike Williams, Deontay Johnson. I like this squad. Jonathan Taylor, Kenneth Walker. I don't love the back. Some concerns about Taylor at the moment. And Walker's an easy fade for me. I just don't want a back in, roughly RB15 that is not going to run any routes and wasn't really efficient last year. They had the explosive plays, but I know Zach Charbonnet is kind of like out indefinitely, so this is good news for Walker, even though he's week to week at the moment with a groin injury. But he could get goal line work taken from him, and I just don't want a back that could be in a committee that's not going to catch any passes. A top 20 guy. Lamar here with Kirk Cousins, AJ Brown, and Mike Evans. I don't mind Evans here in the 30s, very boomer bust, but you're getting him in the 7th round, even in normal just redraft one quarterback leagues. You are getting Mike Evans in the 7th round. He's kind of always been boomer bust. Like he had that big 40-point game towards, I think it was the last game of the season to make him a low end, high end wide receiver 2, low end wide receiver 1. They're still going to take shots with him down the field. I remember even with Tom Brady, he was like 2 catches for 2 yards and 2 touchdowns in one game. Like those sort of things may happen for Evans. I would like to see him as my wide receiver 3, not 2. But this team here really went into running backs between rounds 4 and 9. ETN, Jones, Connor, and Gibson. I don't really love it, but I'd like the start, with Lamar and AJ and Mark Andrews, and even ETN. I think could be a RB1. I'm not crazy about Aaron Jones, and I know a lot of people are, but I don't know. Like he hasn't had a lot of rushing touchdowns over the last couple of years. He's not that goal line back, and a lot of his value has come through the air. But no Aaron Rodgers. This is gonna be different offense with Jordan Love under center. I don't think we're gonna see like as many targets for Aaron Jones. Could be wrong. Like this start here, Hurts with St. Brown and Olave, and that speaks to me quite a bit. Gibbs is your RB1, not quite into that. I'm worried about Gibbs. I think he's gonna be great. I think he'd be better than Swift, but I think it's gonna be a committee, and Montgomery, I think, is going to play the Jamal Williams role and get a lot of goal line work in this offense. Kittle, Godwin, John. I really like these wide receivers quite a bit. St. Brown, Olave, Godwin, Quentin Johnson, and Dotson. I like both of those guys, and Quentin Johnson and Dotson. And Kittle as a tight end here. I would like for this team to maybe get Purdy. And Purdy, match him up there with Kittle, and you got something going on there. Justin Jefferson with Dak. Look at these wide receivers. Whew. Jefferson, Lamb, Debo, Keenan Allen. I'm out on Debo. I think that big season that he had, it was an outlier season for him. 18 fantasy points per game. The rest of the years have been 10. Just not going to get the same type of work inside the red zone. Keenan Allen is your 4. No complaints there. Ayuk is your 5th. Didn't really need to do this, right? Debo and Ayuk. This isn't a best ball. You don't need to do something like this. I don't really recommend it at all. I'd rather a wide receiver and a tight end with my quarterback. I don't want 2 wide receivers. If it's an explosive offense, if somehow you get Burrow and Chase and T. Higgins, sure. But I just don't I don't really like to do that. I think in a best ball, sure, but not. These guys are going to cut into each other. What do we got going on here for backs? Dillon and Madison pretty weak there at the running back position. We'll see the second quarterback after Dak. We got Josh Allen, Derrick Henry, and Joe Mixon with Adams, Ridley, and Kirk. So again, Ridley and Kirk not necessary. You got Jackson Smith, the Jigba, Cooks, and Charbonnet in there. Let's continue the draft. We'll keep going here. Give you guys a feel of what quarterbacks are available. I think this will look very similar. Maybe Love and Kyler are sitting here in the middle part of the draft as your third quarterback. We're not going to do that. We'll take a third one. We'll take a third one late. I do think that Jordan Love is it may feel like a risky quarterback too for you in a super flex league, but I think he's going to surprise some people. I think Watson is in for a season. I love Jaden Reed. I got a decent 1-2 punch out of the backfield. I think, Love is your third quarterback in a super flex. He's probably a little bit more ideal or in a best ball format, but I think he's going to surprise some people. I got him as quarterback 20. I think he could finish in the mid to late teens, and he may have a decent rushing floor. What do we got going on? Do we need another running back? We got Chubb with Sanders and White. Oh yeah, we probably should get a tight end. Like I said, Schultz is still there for you. I like Schultz, questionable at the moment. He could be the number 1 option in Houston for the Texans. I like Nico Collins too. I'm a big John Mechie guy. But Schultz I'm kind of living in this range with Schultz and Okonkwo. If I'm not aggressive, I have no problem with a Kelsey or an Andrews. I think I'm out on Pitts and Waller and Goddard. I like Njoku, out on Ingram. I like Schultz and I like Okonkwo. And I think Komet is kind of undervalued. You bring in DJ Moore. I think, Mooney and Claypool are immediate cross-offs on my list. We have Fields for like 25th, 26th among quarterbacks in pass attempts, and Komet was the one there for Fields down the stretch of the season. DJ Moore will be the one, but Mooney's the guy. Like I'm still surprised people even take him at wide receiver 50 because he was wide receiver 66 last year. I know he missed some time, but you can count on 3 fingers how many times this guy had 5 grabs and like 5+ targets. He's just I don't think there's going to be he's better suited as a wide receiver 2 on his own team, but I don't think there's a huge role for him. Sutton, good value here, I think, with a lot of these guys and Elijah Moore and Flowers and Cortland Sutton and Michael Thomas. Let's get going here again. So some of these quarterbacks are gone. I like Purdy as a third, and I think I'll be aggressive for the sake of the show. I think you want to have a third quarterback, but play the room. You definitely want to look at other people's teams here. Like you see where I'm picking, I look at team 9, 10, 11, and 12. Do these teams have 2 quarterbacks? They do. None of them have a third. We may be able to get Purdy in the next round, and it won't be the end of the world if we don't get him. Alan Lazard, Jacoby Myers, Tyler Boyd, Sky Moore. I like Sky Moore here, actually. Mooney, no thanks. A-Chain. Harris is not a bad like 4th running back, and then maybe we can just forget about running backs for the rest of the draft. McKinnon's a good 4th. I actually have McKinnon ahead of Damian Harris. Wide receivers, Odell, Thielen, Boyd, Sky Moore. So there's some options here. Rasheed Rice is another one that I like. I don't mind Mingo. Let's go Harris as my 4th running back here. Is a guy that maybe could fall into 8 rushing touchdowns as a goal line back inside this offense. Looks like everybody's just going to avoid quarterbacks here. So I can dive back in. People are taking 2 tight ends. Yeah, not crazy about that either. 2 tight ends. I think in a super flex, you can certainly get behind it a bit more because extra flex spot to roll somebody out. Jerick McKinnon would have been a nice one here for me, but I'm not going to go another running back. I'm going to do Sky Moore, and then we'll see what the last couple of rounds here. Any questions, guys? See still some people hanging out. If you got, I don't know if I got to everybody's questions or not. I don't know if I really even answered that redraft one. I think I did. I don't mind that trade. Redraft trades, interesting. So one more time, these quarterbacks are going to go much earlier than this assignment. Maybe George will have to do this again one more time. I mean, I think I dropped the ball. Brock Purdy, good 3rd quarterback. I think a good 2nd quarterback, actually. There's some questions. Of course, it's why he's going late. He's finally going ahead of Trey Lance, which is great. Look at all these people taking a kicker in the 14th round. I guess we have kickers and defenses. I suppose I'm just not going to have a kicker. I probably should have just avoided kickers, and I'm just not even going to take one. We'll get back into what we could do here at the draft. Nico Collins, even though I talked about this with Nico Collins, I think is still a pretty good target, even though I have Schultz. So I just avoided kickers and defenses. That's what you should do, what everybody is doing here. Kickers and defenses in the last 2 rounds. Take your kicker last, take your defense first. I've said this a few times, and this draft is perfect for how I think it should play out. But I've seen other drafts, shows that we've done here where the quarterbacks, like sometimes a 2nd quarterback or, depth piece, a running back like a Jalen Warren. Like, who would you rather have, a Jalen Warren or the 49ers defense? That answer better be Jalen Warren. You want some guys that are some upside guys towards the end of your draft and just, you can figure it out. Kickers are kickers. You take your kicker in the last pick. But defenses, there could be some strategy there. Some defenses that I like late. I'll just go to this board since, there are some people here. Some defenses that I like late, and you can see the way that these sites have defenses up a little earlier. Some sites are different, like Yahoo, ESPN. I think Seattle's buried. I do like Seattle here. Like, why is Arizona up here? Like, Arizona should be dead last. Dead last. Do not draft the Cardinals. Oh my goodness. The Saints are better than this ranking. The Chiefs are sneaky good. The Broncos are better than this ranking. Don't draft the Raiders. The Jags were very opportunistic last year. They created a lot of turnovers, but I think they're okay. I think these 3 defenses, Chargers, Jags, and Browns, are okay near the end. Bucks are better than this too, believe it or not. Bucks still have some good players on their roster. Giants are going to be improved defense. I'm not crazy about their secondary. They're going to be able to stop the run. The Vikings, no. The Colts, nah. The Texans, no. The Bears, no. Panthers, I think, are actually a little bit underrated as a defense. I think the Lions are as well. Two defenses that maybe you could take. We'll have a show where we look at defenses maybe to. I highly recommend streaming, but we'll have a show where we look at look at the schedule the first few weeks, see what defense will have some nice juicy matchups, and then you can start streaming in the position. Only carry one, you can carry two when you get closer to playoffs and down the stretch. So if you're lucky enough to be in a situation where you could plan ahead with some of your weeks and you can get maybe the one defense that you have that you've been streaming as a tough spot, and then another defense you can pick off the waiver wire for like week 13 or something like that. I think we're just about it. We're at the 45-minute mark here, so we're going to say goodbye and wrap up. Lou, if Purdy starts week 1, he's going to go off. He has so many playmakers. I mean, just look at Purdy. I mean, maybe he's not as good as the last 6 games where he was perfect down the stretch of the season, but I think like 2 touchdowns in every game. He's just got so many yak monsters on the squad. I agree, Lou, and a great play caller. I think Purdy, once we hear that he is locked in and ready to go, and Trey Lance looks, according to reports, looks awful. I know Sam Darnold is locked into the 2 spot right now, but Purdy's job to lose. I think he's a really good target in SuperFlex leagues. I think that Richardson, Love, Carr, Russ, Geno, and Daniel Jones are good targets as well after those top guys come off the board. And I do agree. We'll leave with that. Nico Collins, going to be one of the steals this year. 36 targets in his last 4 games last year. That may be a sign of things to come, and an upgrade at the quarterback position. CJ Stroud's going to be a good one. Hopefully you guys got something out of this. We got to say goodbye to Game Plus Network for now. We'll do this again, and I'll be sure to show you guys another mock draft with SuperFlex that quarterbacks went a little bit earlier. So we'll try to tinker and do something a bit different where we see quarterbacks go earlier, but I think you guys got the gist of it. Take the value early, get yourself a top 12 quarterback, and then, a mid-tier guy, and then somebody late like a Purdy that could fall into being a top 15 quarterback. So thanks, guys. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and we'll be back tomorrow. Have a good one. Cheers.